To test your call quality, record a short message after the beep. Your message will then be played back to you.
You hear me?
Ian?
Derek?
Yep. Sorry, Paul.
Just going to say, ask Angus to say a quick prayer of this.
Angus Morrison, we've done is we said a prayer at the first meeting, and we'll just do the next prayer and quorum.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. We'll do that then.
And we can keep an eye on I don't know if you can see the hands up function down where you are, but we can keep an eye on it in Committee 1, and we can let you know if any which one.
The budget item is made up of 5 parts, items 1A to 1F, which will be taken in the sequence as they appear in the agenda and are detailed in the budget book, which has been circulated to your iPads. The Director for Assets, Finance and Resource will introduce these financial items. It's necessary to consider these together, therefore I would propose that the committee consider each report in turn and then come back to the recommendations of item 1A, which is the Budget and Council Tax 2021-22 report. Before we start, I'd just like to give an update on education, skills and children's services. So the budget priorities for the year. We will focus on the continued delivery of learning and teaching and meeting statutory obligations. The Senior Managers Conference is on today, and they are looking at their key priorities for the next few years to meet the needs of children and young people in a rapidly changing and challenging world. We will focus on a place-based learning, digital learning, applied learning and academic learning. The growth of Gaelic medium education will continue to be a focus as we lead nationally on Gaelic medium education in 0 to 3, preschool and primary school. We will also lead on e-learning through eSchool at local national level, and Scottish Government's significant investment in eSchool supports many jobs at local level. We will continue to meet the established and emerging needs of our children and young people through new and innovative practice. We will continue to support COVID-19 education recovery, continue with school and building estate rationalisation. The leadership agenda is at the forefront of Scottish education with a recruitment crisis looming, and we will address this at local level in transitioning school leadership through heads of school and executive head teachers. We will continue to address the priorities identified in the Robertson report. ASN design continues, and working more effectively across sections, we hope to deliver more efficiently across the school estate to support children and young people. School leadership is the key to successfully delivering on our agenda, and through the team we will deliver on the priorities identified in the business plan through the hub approach. We will work closely with colleagues across the Northern Alliance to deliver on key priorities in the National Improvement Framework. Delivery of timetable harmonisation is key to the equity agenda and the opportunities provided for young people. We continue to work with schools and eSchool on the development of the harmonised timetable. Remote learning will continue across Scotland as a new normal is established, and the delivery through eSchool is key to this. In terms of challenges, the ongoing impact of COVID-19 on the education system leaves each one with a degree of uncertainty. Reintroducing children and young people to a full-time education after a year in and out of the school system will be a challenge. There are potential staffing shortages in key areas, but we are working to recruit more teachers in areas of shortage through sponsorship schemes. There is always a risk of unplanned mainland placements, which have a significant impact on budgets. Challenges with achieving timetable harmonisation continue, and it is our aspiration to have the 4 schools working to the same model. The child protection system and the way we support children's hearing in Scotland has to alter too. Throughout the year, we have had to react to new guidance and adapt quickly to emerging need. Notwithstanding this, we continue to attempt to plan strategically. The efficient use of buildings is under continuous review, and we look at developing an increasingly flexible workforce in supporting children and young people. The inclusion agenda and the presumption of mainstreaming is a focal point in delivery of services to meet the needs of all children and young people in schools. See some raised hands. And typically my participant list has gone on the link. Councillor Gordon-Murray.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, we, the SNP group, reserve the right to put forward an amendment to the budget at the full council, having adhered to the standing orders on budget amendments as we are required to do as per the Local Government Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor MacLeod, I think it's in your hand.
Thanks, Chair. Can I raise a point of order, Chair?
Yep.
I wish to inform the committee on behalf of the Alliance Group that we reserve the right to forward 2 amendments to full council this evening, depending on committee outcomes today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacLeod. Any other further points? No hands. Okay, so we'll move on to item 1. That's the declaration of interest, and members are asked to declare any interest they have in any items on the agenda, and it would be helpful if members expressed why they're declaring an interest in the item concerned. I don't see any hands raised, so we'll move on to item 2, and that's item 2 is the budget and council tax setting 21-22, and at item 1A, the report details the budget and council tax setting for 21-22 and a forward budget strategy. And I will ask the Director for Assets, Finance and Resources to introduce the report. Robert.
Thank you, Chair. I went through in some detail for the previous committee, so I'm going to give a slightly abridged, probably, summary of where we are with the budget. But in essence, on account of the good work and planning that we did before Christmas and the improved settlement compared with what we expected, we find ourselves in a position where our core budget can be recommended with a deficit of £86,000, which can be managed comfortably from the balances that we've prudently managed over the previous period. It goes without saying, however, that we continue to face significant risks and uncertainty, not just from COVID, where, particularly with relevant to this committee, there is significant loss of income from leisure centres of the order of £60,000 a month, for example, at the moment when they are completely shut. And there are additional extra cleaning costs in schools that are open to meet the requirements and maintain a safe environment for pupils and staff who are in school. And we estimate our costs there for next year something in the region of £840,000. Very much dependent, of course, on the timing of when we might emerge from the pandemic. There's also within children's services, there continues to be a risk, and this is one of the financial risks highlighted in the last appendix, around mainland placements, which, as members will recall, can cost up to £250,000 if specialist care has to be provided off island. So we're living in an uncertain environment. We are expecting to get some additional funding from the Scottish Government towards COVID, and certainly my advice is that we need to take our times and respond to this in a measured and planned way and not rush into anything. And that'll be something that the head of Accounting and Exchequer will be coming back to you at the next series of meetings, I've no doubt, once we have clarity. The next political event nationally is the UK budget on the 3rd of March. And of course, the Scottish budget won't be finalised until the 9th of March. But it's not likely that there'll be any reduction in funding for Scottish Government. In fact, in the last few years, we've seen additional funding made available at the last minute, so that shouldn't impinge on our budget going forward. So that's an overview, Chair. As far as the interests of committee are concerned, you're asked to support the budget strategy that's set out in the report, to consider the business plans, the operational risk registers, and the draft budgets. And you've obviously got an interest then in the allocation of monies for COVID, as outlined in section 5.3 of the report. And then there's a specific recommendation at item L of the report for the Director of Education, Skills and Children's Services to come back with proposals in relation to how we can manage the loss of income in leisure centres which are closed, and how we can rebuild that post-COVID. That's probably all I want to see, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions as we go through the detail of the report.
Thank you very much, Robert. Are there any questions? See any? And just I don't know if I'll get the chance to say anything as Chair again. So thank you, Robert, for all the work you've done the last few years as well. So
thank you, Chair.
We move on to item B, and that's relating to item 1B in the Dropbox folder. And this report seeks approval of the service business plans for 21-22. Insofar as this committee's interests are concerned, the Education, Skills and Children's Services Directorate, Schools and Community Learning and Children's Services, the Director for Education, Skills and Children's Services will answer any, or the Head of Service will answer any questions of detail required. Willie, I don't know if you want to say anything just now.
No, Paul, really, there's a lot of detail in the report. I think I'm just happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay, the next one is item 1C in the folder, and this report seeks approval of the Strategic and Operational Risk Register for 21-22. Insofar as this committee's interests are concerned, the Education, Skills and Children's Services Directorate Risk Register is at items 1CD on your iPads. Again, the Director or Head of Service will answer any questions or details. Are there any questions? Okay, I take that as a no. Next up is item 1DA, which is in the Dropbox, and approval is sought of the draft budget book 21-22. Insofar as this committee is concerned, please refer to item 1D, Education, Skills and Children's Services, at pages 25 to 33 of the document on your iPads. The Director for Education, Skills and Children's Services is available to answer any questions. And again, if there's any questions, could you raise your hands? Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, and that is the fees and charges 21-22. And insofar as this committee's interests are concerned, this report is just for noting. Do you agree to note? Yeah, okay. So having considered these items, can we please revert to the main report at item 1A? I don't know if Council Leader is in at the moment. Eric, can you see his podium?
Hands up, Paul.
Yeah, so Roddy, would you like to come in?
Yeah, thanks for that. Yes, I'd like to propose an additional recommendation. As you know, I outlined at yesterday's budget seminar that there's been several amendments suggested regarding the budget setting today, and the setting of the revenue budget has evolved over a number of months, and the proposed amendments, I think, are more appropriately dealt with in committee rather than at the budget setting stage. However, I do want to reflect the issues raised by members in these amendments, and so I'll be proposing additional recommendations at committees, which will then immediately become part of the remit of the committee from today. And I believe this is the most effective and quickest way to get action and progress on the subjects raised by members in the amendments. So for education, I would propose the following additional recommendation: that the Council investigate the detailed costs and funding reports, funding options for a report in June on an all-weather pitch at Stornoway Primary School with a view to construction start this financial year. I would like to propose that additional recommendation if you're happy to accept it and the committee are happy to go.
William, is there anything?
No, nothing from me at the moment.
So committee members, I think wait, what did he say there? it comes into the committee system, and then we can get accurate costings and take it forward from there. So I'm willing to accept it. So can I just ask the committee if you're willing to accept it? If you're not willing, could you raise your hand just now, please?
Agreed.
Happy to accept that, Paul.
Councillor Charlie Nicholson, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Like the other two members there, and I'm sure other members, I would fully agree with the leader's proposal here. I just want a commitment, Chair, from yourself and from the Director of Education that it will come forward in June and that the project will be started, initially started by the end of the year. The reason I say that, Chair, that when Sandwich Hill School was closed, we were given these assurances, as were parents down at Sandwich Hill and Dornway Primary, by the then Director of Education and the Chair of Committee, and it never ever happened. So I'm looking for cast iron agreement that the report will come and that the project will start by the end of the year, Chair.
Thank you, Charlie. William?
We will do our very best to start throwing costs and things together for a report, and we will have that report with you as soon as we possibly can, and I'll guarantee that, Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. MacDonald, and thank you, Chair, and thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
Councillor Callum McMillan?
Thank you, Chair. Hold on.
Your hand.
Is that? Can you see? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can see you and I can hear you, Callum. Yeah,
oh,
go ahead.
I can't see myself, but that's beside.
We don't need to see you. Just get on with it.
The thing about this incorporation of the Stornoway Primary into the budget recommendation, it's coming into the recommendation without a budget and is therefore not competent. It is a recommendation to put forward a report to the next committee series or to the one in June, and therefore doesn't form part of the budget because there is no money appended to it. That is something that we have to look at, and if the likes of Councillor Nicholson is happy to have a report without money being put forward, it's up to him to face his constituents. But let's consider how what you might call the man from Del Monte liked to say yes, and he always wore a very dapper suit and a hat. But the Chair of Education for the last 3.5 years always liked to say no. And when this appears in a proposed amendment that is fiscally and financially competent, then a report is proposed to come to committee without any money being appended to it. So, in my view, the proposal is simply a report to committee, and it's not budgetarily competent because it doesn't have any finance attached to it at this stage. Therefore, to include it would not actually be a budgetary matter. It's simply a political matter, and that is something for councillors who accept it to decide. I should have said, Chairman, that I'm not a member of your committee, so thank you for your forbearance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Callum. It's my understanding that the additional recommendation is asking for a report, and until we know the finances, it's difficult to assign funding to the costs going forward. But just if I can get some confirmation from Derek that it is an additional recommendation. It's not, doesn't have to have a budget with it.
Chair, that is quite correct. What the leader has proposed, that the report would detail the costs and potential funding options for providing an all-weather pitch. So, that, as you say, is a recommendation that the committee would look to put forward to Policy and Resources when it sets its budget, and would become part of the proposed budget proposals.
Thank you very much, Gary. Councillor Murray.
Can Can I ask the Chief Executive if this is competent given the budget amendment deadlines, please? Chief Executive?
I'll defer to Mr. Mackay on matters of competence because that is his role, but certainly in my opinion it is competent. It is a matter on the service business plans that has been raised in the context of the budget amendments, and this is the Service Committee with responsibility for schools. The report is not committing money. It is recognising that there is a political will to look at this action in detail with a view to moving it forward in the course of this financial year. And the report competently, the amendment competently, in my view, gives the committee the opportunity to consider everything that's relevant, including the finance. But I'll ask Mr. Mackay to confirm the position.
Thank you for that clarification, Chief Executive. It's only a report.
Chair, I can just concur with the Chief Executive has said. This is an additional recommendation that will go from Education Committee. The process is each Service Committee will recommend its budget to Policy and Resources budget setting meeting, who will then propose a budget to the full council. So this is perfectly in order with the process.
Thank you, Mr. Mackay. Councillor Nicholson, were you want to come back in?
Thank you, Chair, and Councillor Callum McMillan makes a point here. Sorry for that interruption. That was your mate Tam from the council down in Newest phoning just now. Anyway, sorry about that. But it's, from my perspective, a report coming back in June, as indicated by Mr. MacDonald, the director, has to have within it identification of finance available if we're going to start at the end of the year. I would not be happy if it's just going to be a report which happened over the last number of years. Indication, without any action. So I am asking Chair and asking members that with the report that finance is identified through PNR under the leadership, chairmanship and direction, and not a report coming back in regards to just a report. I've had it over the last number of years. So have my parents and guardians and pupils and staff of Stornoway Primary, and they've been let down time and time again. And I do not want them let down this time again. I want to move forward, as I indicated in formal yesterday, the importance of the community well-being of the children at Stornoway Primary. Thank you, Chair. I would wish that that finance would be recognised, and Mr. MacDonald, along with the Chair of Policy and Resources, would come back to the June series, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholson. Yeah, just to confirm, my understanding is that the report will bring back the costings and potential financing. But Roddy, would you like to come in?
Yeah, I just want to clear that up. I mean, I genuinely believe that this is the best way to get this job done, because I want to get it done, and I know members want to get it done. So that's why I'm proposing this. I think this is a much tidier and quicker way, as I said. But also to point out that my recommendation, additional recommendation, says that it'll have the detailed costs and funding options. So that'll all be in that report, and then we will decide politically how we're going to do it. And that's why I also put in the reference to a construction start this financial year to make it more real, more pressing and more urgent. So that is why we've done, I'm proposing we do it this way. I think it gives more certainty of a result that will suit Stornoway Primary, the parents and pupils there.
Thank you, Roddy.
Thank you for that, Leader. Thank you.
Mr. Burr.
Thank you, Chair. It was just to confirm what really has just been said. It is explicit in the report that it is a report about implementation. It is a report about the best way to do it and to identify the funding that will make that happen. So in that respect, I think this is about the how rather than the what. So I think that's explicit in the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Norman MacDonald.
Thanks, Chair. And thanks to the leader for stressing the imperative of actually putting something concrete behind this. I believe that the amendment, as it was formulated by the SNP group, was destined to fail because it was part of several other proposals in their amendment, and we would have to accept them in their entirety or not at all, which is why it was brought up yesterday and again at this committee, hopefully, to circumvent that and to make sure it did go through with a concrete proposal and the support of not just this committee, I think, but every single member. And for the SNP group to try to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, I think is a bit hollow. You know, I mean, I don't understand how, if they're wanting this to succeed, they can try to usurp by saying it's not competent. You know, I find that a bit incredulous. But I'm grateful for the support of the Chief Executive, the leader, yourself as well, Chair, you know, to ensure that this does go ahead. And it's very important for the pupils, parents of Stornoway Primary that something concrete does happen this year, and we make a sterling commitment to that. And I'm glad to hear that most of us are certainly behind it.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chief Executive for giving his view that this is a competent amendment to the budget. And I would say to Councillor Nicholson, the only way to get the action and not go down the same road as before is to vote for the amendment that's been proposed as per the standing orders, as adhering to the local government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Mackenzie.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to come in on this, Chairman. Thank you. Yeah, I'm quite intrigued at the turn of things. How certain people now are claiming to be great supporters of Stornoway Primary when we've been trying for 10 years, and actually parent councils have been trying for almost 20 years to get something done here without it happening. And I think the flaw with this is, and Mr. Mackay mentioned this yesterday, but he said today that it does depend on a committee decision, that it should go to the committee for their decision. And there's no guarantee that that will happen. I'm sure Mr. MacDonald believes that the support is there, and hopefully it would be in that event. But the fact is that we've had so many reports over the years, and so much, and actually even councillors from Stornoway haven't supported in the past. And the last time it came, I think there was 4 of Stornoway's councillors supported it and 4 didn't. So I hope that this is a change in attitude, and certainly that something happens before the end of the year. And I hope that this amendment that comes before the council today is actually the one that will take it forward with money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Mr. Burr and Councillor MacDonald, your hands are still up.
Apologies, Chair.
Okay. Councillor John Norman MacLeod. John Norman, can you hear me? Yeah.
Sorry, Chair. Thanks for that. I was trying to unmute myself. Okay. I've just got a question I'd like to ask regarding your amendment. I mean, was there any commitments to a proposal regarding e-school relocation?
I believe that's coming up at the transport and infrastructure one. But Roddy, if you'd like to clarify that.
Yes, just to clarify, that won't come up here, John Norman. That will come up at TNI, and I've got a similar plan around that, which I discussed with you yesterday, and you can see at TNI if you find that acceptable. Okay.
Is that okay, John Norman?
That's fine, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie, your hand's still up, or have you put it up again? I'm not sure. Councillor Mackenzie.
Yes, Chairman. The reason I come back is because I lost reception, and I don't know if I got my point over or not. But I don't know if you got the whole of what I said.
I think we did. Yeah, it sounded like you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is that Councillor McCormack?
Thank you very much, Chair. As I said yesterday, I'm very happy to support this amendment. The only point I wish to make really is that this is the first time any formal proposal for this particular matter has come before the Education Committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor McCormack. If there are no more questions or points, fine. I'd just like to say I think it's quite clear from the feedback so far from the committee that there's a will and a desire to take this forward. So including it in the amendment as a additional recommendation, I think we should get us on the right track, and hopefully we'll get some spades in the ground and some kids on the pitch soon. So if that's the case, we'll move on. And just to conclude the budget items, and for the purpose of recording the minute with reference to items 1B, C, D and F, can I now confirm, insofar as this committee's interests are concerned, approval of item 1A, budget and council tax setting 2021-22. There's no hands raised. I'll take that as agreement. Thank you very much for coming along. The next scheduled meeting of the committee.
Chair, sorry, just to clarify, and that is approval of those recommendations with the additional recommendation from the leader.
Sorry, Derek, you're going back on mute.
Sorry, and that the financial year that was being talked about is 2021-22.
Yeah, with that additional recommendation. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. The next scheduled meeting of the committee will be on the 23rd of March 2021, and the next meeting will be at 11 o'clock today. So we'll see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you, Paul.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.